Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a special edition of the Red and Black Final Chat. I am Alexander T. McCready, joined here by our wonderful sports editor, Wilson Alexander, our assistant sports editor, Jed May. As you can see, we might as well call ourselves the Blue Man Group, wearing different shades of blue.
This wasn't planned.
No. But it's a nice day out, so short sleeve, collared shirts for what has been an exciting but perhaps uneventful signing day. We'll start off asking you guys, really, there were just no surprises on the day. Were you expecting this?
Yeah. Georgia had so much of its class set before signing day that you really didn't think much of anything really crazy was going to happen today. So Georgia picks up just a couple of commits to round out the rest of the class, a couple of corners and stuff, get some length there in the defensive backfield, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, most of the day was just waiting for people to actually send in their national letters of intent. Like Wilson said, there was a couple of actual decisions early this morning. And other than that, we'll touch on it later, but David Marvin, the kicker, that kind of broke a little later in the day. But other than that, there was really nothing new today.
As we found out, though, early on today, fax machines are still in use and can still give you problems with DeMonte Wyatt, whose fax machine at his Towers High School in Decatur broke when he was trying to send his letter of intent in. It's kind of funny that fax machines.
National Signing Day is fun fax machines.
So moving on, Kirby Smart. This is his second year in the program. Really, his first full cycle of going through the whole recruiting process. Just how do you think a year on the job has helped him just kind of build this program up?
I mean, I think he's had a full year to sell people to Georgia. You look last year, he's recruiting people to Alabama until, the middle of December, really. Mm-hmm. And then, so after, he takes over Georgia full time, he's got, just a little over a month to either flip people from Alabama to Georgia or finish recruiting people to Georgia. So I think, with the whole year to sell people on this program and what he's doing here, I think, obviously they end up with a top 3 class, I guess. So, it obviously paid dividends.
And what's most impressive about it is that Georgia went 8-5, and he did this.
Yeah.
Normally, Alabama has been really good for a long time, so of course people want to come play there and win national championships. So you have that going for you. They always sign the top class, it seems, ever since Nick Saban's been there. And Urban Meyer is a great recruiter over at Ohio State, and so that one's a little bit easier. But Georgia's 8-5, and the top 5 programs in terms of recruiting classes today seem to be USC, Michigan, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama.
You can throw
Florida State in there. It depends on where you look, but all those teams had really good years and went to major bowl games except Georgia. So that's really impressive.
Yeah, that absolutely just shows you how really, we knew he was a good recruiter. We really did. We weren't sure about the head coaching thing, but he's got a year under his belt now. We'll see how that goes. But we knew his charisma and just the attitude he has and the aura about him. Kids want to come play for him, and I think that's what drew so many people to this program. And you see like Jed said, top 3 recruiting class, 3 5-stars, 18 4-stars. That's a good recruiting class.
It's possibly Georgia's best recruiting class in the modern era.
So looking at this recruiting class specifically, did it address some of the needs that Georgia needed to fill?
Yes, definitely, especially on the offensive line. Georgia's going to have 3 starting offensive linemen leaving after this, basically after they graduate and stuff, with Tyler Catalina, Brandon Caplano, and Greg Pike. They're all going to be gone. They're seniors. And Georgia goes out and signs 6 offensive linemen. Not just 6 offensive linemen, 6 massive offensive linemen. From Isaiah Wilson, who's the highest ranked of the 6, to Justin Schaefer, who is the lowest ranked of the 6, but definitely he's not bad by any means. They certainly addressed that. That was the biggest issue with this Georgia football team this season, was probably the offensive line, and they went out and addressed that. Now, starting a freshman in the SEC on the offensive line is not a guarantee that that's going to have a lot of success, but Kirby said it today, right, that Isaiah Wilson could possibly start next season. He's got the size, certainly, and probably the talent to be able to do that. So you might see some of those freshman offensive linemen for game 1.
Just a quick note on some of those offensive linemen. Georgia's starting offensive line this year, the average height and weight, 6'3", 305. The 6 players they have coming on the offensive line this year, 6'5", 335. That's a big deal. Those are some big boys. That fits right into Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator's game plan of controlling the line of scrimmage and winning the battle of the trenches. So, looking now to the
and exactly what Sam Pittman wants on an offensive lineman.
That is so true. Jed, looking at more of the defense, they got 7 DBs coming in. I don't know how they're gonna maneuver all these guys in, because there's some good DBs too coming in.
And you only lose Mo Smith out of the secondary from this year, and then you also have, looking back at last year, you got Mecole Hardman, who didn't really play defense at all this year. You got Tyreek McGee, and then you got Latavius Brini committed today, Eric Stokes and Amir Speed this morning. Georgia's gonna have some really good special teams units next year, probably, but the depth in the secondary is going to be one of Georgia's strong suits. I mean, Georgia should have maybe not the best secondary in the SEC next year, but at least one of the deepest. You got 3 and 4 stars that likely won't hardly see the field at all next year, except blowouts or whatever. So that was a huge. I mean, they got 7 defensive backs, so that's going to be a real huge a real huge positive going over the depth of the secondary.
So it was mostly an uneventful day until around 3 o'clock after Kirby Smart had talked. A Wofford kicker named David Marvin, who we're guessing is going to graduate from Wofford, tweeted out that he is getting a full ride to Georgia. We can confirm nor deny this right now, so how this thing will play out is kind of interesting. But just some numbers from Marvin, he was 17 of 23 this year, had a long of 57, actually made a couple of 50-yard field goals, and was at the punter too, averaged 46.2 yards per punt. And as we saw this year, Georgia's special teams was a little bit like a roller coaster. Eventually started to even out towards the end there, but this whole David Marvin thing could kind of throw a loophole into what they're going to do next year.
David Marvin, that was interesting. That was the one that at least we're not recruiting experts by any means. It's not something that we keep up with throughout the year. But, so with that being said, this wasn't something we saw coming because it wasn't that obvious thing. But it's just an interesting addition. Georgia is trying to find something at place kicker. Because, this makes it pretty obvious that they don't love Rodrigo Blankenship.
Yeah.
They didn't give him a scholarship at the mid-year, which, as we made his father very upset, and then apparently give Marvin a full ride. Now, one of our writers, Colin Hughley, has talked to Marvin, and so we will have a story from him, kind of the explanation of that decision, and like kind of what's going on there. But yeah, it's just interesting, really, because they signed David Boosie from Great Atlantic Christian, and then you got Rodrigo, and then you got this guy, and then they added sort of an all-purpose transfer from Columbia,
right?
Whose name escapes me at the moment, like a month or so ago. They're just trying to find something.
Yeah, although Rodrigo didn't start last year, obviously that was William Ham's job. Rodrigo comes in, towards the back half of the season, he ended up going 14 of 18, long of 49. So Jed, what is there not to like about Rodrigo if you can really pinpoint something?
That's one of the things. He misses his first kick against Ole Miss. He makes 10 in a row until the Auburn game, and then he left one short against Auburn, and he missed that one against Georgia Tech. That's not bad from an accuracy standpoint. He doesn't have the strongest leg in the world, but not everybody can be Sebastian Janikowski either. So, if I was Rodrigo right now, I would not be thrilled with the day's events, especially considering that you learned in the past few days that Boosie is coming on, and now you learn that not only is another kicker coming in, but he's getting a scholarship.
Yeah.
After you
won one.
After you've made it known that you wanted one, I would be, and you've been here, you're redshirted, and then he's been here for 2 years now, and still don't have one. So, I would not be thrilled if I was Rodrigo, or Rodrigo's father. So.
Moving forward, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but expectations. Now that we know the 2017 Sick'em Dogs recruiting class is set, what are your expectations for next season?
Well, I said this even before the whole class was officially signed. I think this team should be the favorite in the SEC East. The recruiting class just completely blew the rest of the SEC East out of the water. Who Georgia has coming back, who's already starters, sort of made them the favorite anyway. I don't know the schedule just off the top of my head, but you'd think that the team should go at the very least 9-3,
right?
Probably 9-3, 10-2. and win the SEC East. I mean, it's tough to kind of place those expectations on a program this early. You don't know what's going to happen in terms of if there's going to be any arrests or suspensions stemming from arrests or anything like that. But if everyone just sort of stays on the straight and narrow, and you have what you have right now, Georgia should be pretty good.
Joe, what about you?
I mean, it's like, what's not to like? I mean, you got that. I mean, you got Jacob Easton in year 2. You have the deepest core of running backs in the SEC. You have a lot of new freshman receivers that can emerge and make plays. The offensive line, there's just 3 starters, but as we all know, the offensive line really wasn't that good this year either. So the entire defense comes back. And looking at the schedule they have, there's 4 true road games here: at Tennessee, at Vanderbilt, at Notre Dame. 5 true road games: at Auburn and at Georgia Tech, and then plus Florida and Jacksonville. So, I mean, that's not that bad of a schedule at all, really. And then your crossover divisional opponent is Mississippi State, which, I mean, it's Mississippi State. So
They
I mean,
played
they're
well
all
at the
right,
end of the
but
year. Nick
it's not-
Fitzgerald.
I'd rather play Mississippi State than
Fitzgerald might have something to say about that.
That's
Team Chattanooga. Okay, so kind of wrapping up our last bit of coverage here from signing day. We always like to do our top dog on the Red and Black Final Chat. So focusing just on today. Could be a recruit, could be your coach. Who was your top dog today, Jay?
I'm gonna go with Mel Tucker. He signed Eric Stokes this morning, who runs a 4.340, one of the fastest recruits out there. You signed Amir Speed at the same time, and then you steal Latavius Brini from Florida International later in the day to round out, 7 DBs in this class, like you said. That's Mel Tucker's kind of specialty, is secondary coaching. So I'm sure he's thrilled right
And
now.
Kirby Smart.
And Kirby Smart too. Like, I'm sure they're both thrilled with how this day with how this day has gone in terms of the recruiting in the secondary.
What about you, Wilson?
Sort of off of the and Kirby Smart thing, mine's Kirby. I mean, he signs in a really, really good class. Nothing crazy happened today in terms of Georgia's class, but he did it all in advance. So basically all he had to do was sit back today and watch the fax machine, kind of heat up and turn on and watch the NLIs roll in. And so he would have to be my top dog of the day because he just got to sit there because he did all his work ahead of time.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. Last year, I went over to Miko Harbin signing at Elbert County, and you had actually no idea what school he was going to pick. And that was like the first big 5-star, where is he going to go recruit? We just didn't have that today because Kirby Smart, like you said, he got all that done out a little early. I mean, he walks in your door, he's there. He's boisterous. He's got a great personality. I mean,
the recruits, from what I've heard, the recruits just really connect with him.
Yeah.
There's just something about him that they really just connect with him.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Well, this has been fun. It's been a long day, but we've enjoyed it. So from the Blue Brothers here, Wilson Alexander, Jen
That's
May.
terrible.
I am Alexander T. McCreadys. Thank you for joining us on the Red and Black Final Chat Signing Day edition. We'll see you next time.